All right. Hello, everyone. We are back for Splendid Spotlight, our weekly series every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Today, I'm really excited to bring on Dia Parker. She is the executive director of Athena's Warehouse, and I'm just going to let Instagram do its thing. Hey, Dia, so you've joined. Let's see if it will give you a quick notification. Yep. View request. Now, we'll get going here. Yay!
I'm here.
You're
How's it
here.
going?
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm glad that we worked through the technical difficulties the
Yes.
first round. We did it. Well, thank you so much for being here with us. We'll dive right in, Dia. Sound good?
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited.
So first off, let's just, while people are joining, tell me just a little bit, tell everyone a little bit about Athena's Warehouse, about what you do. I told my list this morning, I sent out an email reminding them about this, and my daughter's name is Athena. So I was like,
Yeah,
you
I
gotta
saw
know
that.
I'm already feeling the love with Athena's Warehouse.
Awesome. Yeah. So Athena's Warehouse was founded back in 2009, and has worked primarily with Cross Keys High School, which is in like the Brookhaven, Northeast Atlanta area. And the program started out as a free prom dress in exchange for a day of community service. And after, really connecting with the young women and hearing their stories, the founders of the organization realized that there was such a great need to do more. And so that turned into weekly workshops. And so now since 2012, we've offered weekly personal workshops that work on personal skills and also professional skills. And now we're serving youth 15 to 25. So we've got high school
Oh
students.
my gosh, amazing. So
attending.
you've broadened definitely out of just one high school then. Very cool. So tell me a little bit about how long have you been executive director, and tell me a little bit about the favorite thing about your role.
Absolutely. So I've been the executive director since 2019, September of 2019. And I actually went through the program when I was in high school.
Okay.
So my junior and senior year, I participated in the program. My senior year, I actually got to go to the workshops. And one of the things that was just, a few things about it were absolutely unforgettable experiences. But the exposure to yoga, it was just one session. It was 15 minutes. We did some really simple breathing and stretching, but I'll never forget, learning about yoga outside of the context of like seeing, predominantly wealthy white women participate in the activity, right? So being in a space where we were women of color together talking about our mental health was a super unique experience. There wasn't anything else that was happening like that. I was really grateful for that experience. So one of the things that I love most about my role is that as a past participant of the program, having that unique perspective on our program, our services, what we're doing, and how our team can pivot to adapt to whatever the needs are of the students that we're currently serving. I do want to talk really quickly because I didn't mention the founder of the organization, but the organization was founded by current State House Representative B. Nguyen. She is the first Vietnamese American woman to ever be elected to the Georgia General Assembly. And that happened in 2017 after Stacey Abrams left her state house seat to run for governor in 2018. And I hadn't really, I'd always been a political person. As soon as I turned 18, I always voted and was an engaged participant in my community because as a Black woman, like, we don't really get a choice, right? Like you have to be involved or you fall in the cracks. But seeing B, take off her service hat to put on another one and to run for office and to be a part of that experience was amazing. And I also got to serve as a legislative aide for her once she won her race that first year. That commitment to sisterhood, that commitment to providing new experiences that women with my background are not going to receive, was very powerful, and I just wanted to honor that legacy.
Yeah. I like have B is like a rock star. I feel like in the Atlanta area, I feel like a lot of women, a lot of in town, residents really look up to her. When she ran, it was like, yes, it was just yeah, so I'm glad, like, for sure, shout out to me on that. And that's really cool that you've kind of continued your work, because she sort of passed the torch, right? And, as executive director. And also too, I have to say, it seems like part of your special sauce that I would argue that a lot of executive directors don't have is that you've come full circle. So it's like you understand what it's like to be in the program. Now you understand what it's like to lead the program, have people under you, train people, all of it. And I think that's really unique to you. And I think that's really, really cool. So it also reminded me, when we were talking about yoga, my first yoga experience was in a gym at my college, like a basketball gym, in sneakers. And there was probably, like, I don't know, 40 of us. And it was like college PE or something like that. And it was great. So it is like a great reminder of, like, no, you don't need the stretchy pants. You don't need the perfect thing. You actually just need a moment of quiet to yourself. And, like, you actually need just somebody be willing to show you how, right? And yeah, so that was a really beautiful reminder. So let's fast forward to 5 years from now. What are you doing? What is Athena's Warehouse doing? Walk us through that.
Yeah, that's an awesome question. So 5 years from now, I really would love for us to be in a position where we're providing, or at least, navigating more young women towards free mental health services. So there's currently not a really good pipeline, unless there's been a case of domestic violence right now in the community, for teens to seek mental health resources, and for a lot of reasons, right? So teenagers are not adults, so there's educating the parents and getting them informed and involved and wanting that for their child, and so doing more education and more work with parents. Right now, the faculty advisor for Athena's Warehouse at Cross Keys High School is also helps to run the PTO. So, having that relationship with Adriana Vargas and building that relationship with parents is definitely something that we want to do, so that there's more collective buy-in, and so that students have access to whatever they need and aren't inhibited. So increasing access to free mental health care for teens and young women is definitely a top priority. I also would love for us to have, like, a physical space. Now we have been a remote space, and we go into the classroom, or we've, during COVID, we just did full virtual, but that's but that limits the kind of service that we can do. And I would love for us to have a space where folks could even live if they need temporary housing due to domestic violence experiences they might be having at home, because there's just so many there's so many aspects of poverty that bleed out. Even if a student is successful, like myself, there was never a chance that I wasn't going to graduate from high school. Straight A student, had really good grades, but I was extremely depressed when I was 15 years old. And it was just, the seeing what was ahead of me and not knowing, not having anyone there to guide or to say, like, this is how you take care of yourself. This is how you do deep breathing. Not having, so
I think this generation, so that would be Gen Z, like, they will be the ones to begin to normalize therapy, like, to normalize, like, no, I went to therapy today. Of course I'm going. Like, I think that I see that in them. Like, they're bolder. They're not keeping it as, they're being more vulnerable online. Like, we already see that. They're showing us, millennials and Gen Xers, like just a difference in that vulnerability. And I think that, like you're saying, creating a pathway for them, because access is an issue, right? So even if they're like, yeah, therapy sounds normal, but I don't have access to it, now we've got a problem. I think too, this last year, I saw, like, in my own social circles, everybody really needing the power of therapy, like, to get through. And then I've seen a lot of issues with just, like, therapists being like, I'm booked, I'm maxed out. And so again, we have that access issue. And so I love that idea of, like,
yeah, and normalizing group, because
yeah,
just having access to a certified therapist is great, but if folks just want to get together and talk about what they have in common and their experiences, that's something that we do currently as part of our program. I think it's every other week is the schedule, and it's young women, basically
Peer support.
15 to 30, who are just talking about what's working for us, what's keeping us happy, and what's been challenging, and how we're getting through it. And I think it's so powerful, and there are so many avenues that we could take, but those are some definite things that I think are some real priorities.
I love
Being
that. I love that.
with each other, and then building on this mental health aspect of.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I think that like that generation is going to help like show us like what they need. Do you know what I mean? And how we can help them. It's like just yeah. They're so smart. They're so smart and just like so much more in touch with what they need and saying what they need if we give them the access to, right? So let's switch gears for a second. And I'd love to hear, maybe, I love social fundraising. That is part of what I do, with my clients is like, how do we attract supporters online? How do we convert supporters into volunteers or donors or whatever that is? So I'd love to hear from you, like, what has been a social media post or a social fundraiser, or even a social movement that you've experienced online where you're like, that was amazing? And it could be something that Athena's Warehouse did, or it could just be something, sometimes for me, it's like just something that I consumed. I was scrolling, I'm like, you guys did a great job. It was great.
Yeah, last year we were looking for a way to really communicate to our donors that we're still here, that we're still going, our doors are still open, the program didn't take a single day off. And so we had our Resiliency Campaign, and it was partial fundraiser, but mostly just like an awareness campaign about, our services and how we've changed a lot, who we serve and what we're doing currently. So it was phenomenal, the level of support and engagement from past, people who've given to us in the past, and then also, new folks who haven't heard of our services. And we got to work with local artists, Whitney Rivers of Pamoja Keepsakes, and it was just a phenomenal process to get her to design sort of like a logo, image, visual that really embodied resilience and what we were trying to convey. And she took a couple of photographs from the website and developed this beautiful design that we ended up putting on t-shirts, and we're not sure if we're going to do a similar campaign like that this year, but it was just absolutely it was amazing, the support and to do
so
that.
What I hear you saying is you branded your campaign, which is really important. You had kind of a visual identity to it, and then the other part that worked really well was you let people kind of peek in. So it was like, whether they're past donors, past supporters, or new people, of like, this is actually what we're working on, you guys, and like letting them in. And that is, that's what we as, supporters want to see. We want to know like the real deal. What are you guys doing? Especially because you just said like, it didn't stop just because you had to switch to virtual. Doesn't mean that your program's paused or anything like that. It just meant that we were behind a screen now, right? And we're going to make this work. And here's what our girls need. And we're making this happen. So I love that. I think that's beautiful. And that sounds like it was a huge success. And hopefully you'll do something, maybe like this will be an annual thing, something like that. That could be cool. Awesome. So let's give everyone a pro tip. What is one thing that makes either your job or achieving your goals or some sort of outcome easier to achieve?
Having an amazing support system. When I became the executive director, the org was undergoing a lot of structural changes. For the first time, it had more than just one employee.
That's a big milestone, right?
With support with a program director, and then rebuilding and figuring out is this going to be a learning board, a working board, or a more traditional giving circle style board. So working through those things with the folks who I had already been talking to for over a year about, are you going to be there? Are you going to be there to support, and how do you want to show up? And so taking all of that down, literally writing it out, mapping it out, and finding just finding and leaning on folks who wanted to show up for young women but weren't sure how, and taking those talents and having the team that we have. I couldn't do any of this on my own. And I think that a lot of folks look at executive directors especially and think that they're a one-woman show, but it's impossible. So I love my team. Pro tip: get a team. Identify those folks who say that they wanna help. Have a one-on-one conversation about what that assistance looks like, and keep them engaged.
Yeah, yeah. And I think maybe to your point of like finding what people want to do and then giving them the tools and fostering that ability for them to go do it. So like something I hear is like, my board should be fundraising more or whatever. Like that's great. And yes, but not everybody is going to have that same like deep desire to do that or deep desire to do some other component. And so it's like, what do the people around you want to do? And how can you sort of lift them up to propel them to do that one thing or a few things really, really great? Or like another example would be like, some people just aren't natural event planners and they don't want to be in the event committee, right? And so like, don't make everybody be on the event committee, but then there's a yin to that yang of like, well, that person has a natural probably ability to do something else. And so, yeah, like identifying those little traits in everyone is perfect.
Yeah, and we really are kind of, especially now that a lot of the members of our board are past participants, we really are using the same, sort of core curriculum that we've had for years now about leadership development and learning more about yourself and stuff through self-exploration, through journaling and reading and meditation. So taking those core principles and applying them to the leadership style of individual board members, like that's something that is just, I think is the key to keep us going.
Yeah, totally. That's so cool that so many women have gone through your program and now are still like, it's like that very circular kind of give back. Or I'm sure as going through the program was so immensely valuable, and I'm sure it's like deeply valuable and significant to now be on the other side of it for all of them too. So that speaks to like the power in it. That's really cool. All right, finish the sentence for me. More nonprofits should be
led by community members, led by the people that they serve.
Yes, that's a big one. Tell us more about that. Tell us why you say that.
When I found out as a young woman that Athena's Warehouse was not a national organization, that this wasn't attached to a church or some, really, concrete community. And I learned that it was just an idea that a woman of color had and put her heart and soul into promoting and giving the gift of sisterhood to young women. When I learned that that's what the organization was born out of, I was like, this is so unique. A lot of nonprofits are not run by the folks who are receiving the services. And a lot of nonprofits struggle with figuring out how to get community members in the seat of the executive director, on the board as advisory board members. And it's about having open and honest conversations with the folks that you serve and taking it beyond, the one or two direct services that you might provide. And having that mentorship. Like, B never stopped mentoring me. She met me when I was 15 years old as a junior in high school. And when I graduated from college, she was there. That's the kind of work that it takes to bring community members in, to bring in the folks that you're serving and turn them into the leaders that you need for your organization for tomorrow.
You've heard me stop you now twice because you talked about how you were part of the program and now you're leading it, and now at your board too, it's that same thing. And I've stopped you because I've been like, wow, that's amazing. That's so different. And that speaks to exactly what you said of like, why am I saying how unique and different that is? That should be something that we see across more nonprofits, where I'm not stopping you in your tracks going, how unique, how groundbreaking, but it starts with organizations like yours saying that this matters. We want people to go through our programs, and then we want to invite them, seat at the table at the board meeting, become an advisor, whatever that is. And why? Yeah, I totally agree. So I think that you nailed it. You win. Yeah, that's such a good one. So we'll do one more bonus question, then we'll wrap up. So tell me, I think you kind of hit it, but is there one thing you wish people knew about your organization? And maybe I'll give you this too, it looks like you co-founded another one. And if you want to mention that, I'm curious to hear about that too.
One thing that I want folks to know about Athena's Warehouse is that we are totally reliant on the community at large for a lot of our programming. We are not funded by the state. We do not get paid by the schools to go in to the classroom. So it's really the generosity and the heart and soul of, anyone who values empowerment and who values the success of young women to come together in this space. All of our weekly workshops, I'm not leading every single workshop. Our president and program director is not leading every single workshop, right? We're bringing in experts from the community to provide their expertise directly to young women and to give that perspective. So, we wouldn't do anything without the support of the community, and so that's definitely one thing that I want everyone to know, that we are
truly community-driven organization, for sure. Yeah, I love that. All right, before we wrap up, so share what do you have going on next and how people can get involved. I know that your handle, we can find you over at Athena's Warehouse, but tell us a little more. What's on? What are you brewing on this summer or fall, and how people can get involved?
Awesome. Yeah. So there are lots of ways for folks to get involved. One of the main ways is to become a mentor. So we'll be opening up a virtual mentorship program this fall. And folks will be able to sign up just with their email, create an account with Tutorfly. And on that platform, they'll be able to set their schedule, and students can contact them directly through the platform for them to have one-on-one sessions, for them to get more information about the career path that they took or hear about their educational experience. We're always looking for folks to lead workshops. So if you have a unique career track or a traditional career track, we would love to hear more. And when I say traditional, a lot of students hear a lot about the medical field and the legal fields, but they don't hear about anything else. So if you work in nonprofit, if you work in consulting, we would love to have you come and do a 30-minute talk on your background and how you got involved in it.
Isn't it? It's funny, even when you said career, I thought doctor, lawyer, and then you said it. So it's like, yeah, how do we, let's move outside of that,
yes.
Shall we? Yeah.
All year round, we always need readers and editors as resumes and essays. And there is a volunteer link on our page. So if you fill out that one volunteer link, you'll be contacted with all those options that I just gave. And so that's a great way for folks to get involved. We do have workshops that are still going on this summer, and we'll carry them into the fall as well.
I love it. Dia, you have been so amazing and such a pleasure. So thank you. Thank you for hopping on with me and really just doing this. Like I kind of mentioned in our initial email, I read your spotlight through the Lola and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to know more. I have to meet her, even if it's virtually. And so thank you. This has been a really beautiful conversation. And I look forward to really sharing this beyond, you've said a couple of really, really important kind of aha moments. And I think that what you're doing at Athena's Warehouse is going to pave the way for more organizations to have a much more community-driven, community-focused, community-centric nonprofit, because that is, I think, that's the future of that. And then the other point of like normalizing therapy, normalizing you know, that peer-to-peer support that so many teenagers need. I think that's really, really valuable. So thank you for sharing. And we'll see you next time, guys.
Thanks for inviting me.
All right, guys. Have a good one. We'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.